This morning I'm feeling Archangel Gabriel with me, and I've been feeling him since I woke up this morning. And I'm very emotional today. I feel like I could cry at the drop of a hat because of this energy. And it's not a sad energy, it's just I feel so blessed energy that it brings me to tears. Thank you. And I also feel like we're going to be talking about a difficult subject for some of us. And I think that's what's manifesting. I don't know what I'm talking about typically until I get up here and I start talking. And then Archangel Gabriel will come through, and a lot of times he'll have some words of inspiration and then have me relay a personal story. And I really feel like that's what's going to be going on today. So let me just allow him to start to speak through me. Good morning. I am Archangel Gabriel. Melissa and I have worked together many times. She is constantly in connection with a divine source. We use her as a tool to pass on messages. She hates it when I speak this slow. We're going to be discussing what some of you may feel is a morbid subject this morning. We're going to talk about the human transition into the spiritual space, also known as death. Melissa recognized that we also worked with Pat Heitman this morning to help to choose the responsive reading as well as other messages she will be sharing this morning. Trust that you are never alone. You are never without divine presence, whether that be a guide, an angelic guide, or a loved one. Transitioning often raises fear within the human soul because you don't remember. You don't understand. And sometimes it seems so unfair when someone that you love is taken from your human existence. But you as spiritualists know that that energy never dies. It continues to move on, move around you, and be near you. If you only knew how close your loved ones really are at this moment. The veil is very thin. You may sense, you may feel their presence, even if you don't see them. During the process of transitioning, the human physical form goes through many changes. The closer you get, the higher your vibration becomes. The higher your vibration becomes, the more aware of where you will be going is apparent. Some souls may see us before they pass, sometimes for weeks, sometimes just minutes before they decide to transition. And it is you as the human soul that decides when it's your time to move forward. You are never taken from your physical form. You always have a choice. Some of you know on a soul or a subconscious level how you will pass, how you will make your transition. Others, it's a mystery. You won't know until that moment. Some of you will fight to stay here. Some of you will accept death or your transition very easily. Melissa has experienced a near death, and I would like her to share portions of that with you, and then I will speak again. So I believe most of you know that I had a near-death experience about 16 years ago, just over 16 years ago. And it was very interesting because I always felt like I was going to die at a young age. And once my sister had said she would take my daughters, I had this wonderful sense of peace, like this is all meant to be, that this is supposed to happen. And sorry, this is the emotional part. I knew my kids were going to be okay. So I was ready to go. And in the hospital that night, I would feel this warmth go across my body, like I'm laying in the bright sunlight. And the only way I could describe it is just love. It was just an emotional, energetic hug and holding. It was beautiful. In the morning, they didn't expect me to survive 24 hours, but in the morning, a miracle had happened, and I am still here with you today. But I remember having this sense of disappointment. Even though I was very happy to still be here and be with my children, there was this odd sense of, oh, I'm still here, instead of going over into what some have referred to as paradise. Oh, he also wants me to share another story about a transition. A friend of mine, his father passed. And it was very interesting because that particular night that he passed, I was working on my computer and I was working on something that was very frustrating. My computer kept freezing up and it was a very long process of getting through this course that I was doing. And I saw a shadow go by me. And I knew it was a spirit, but I was so involved in what I'm doing, I thought, I don't know who you are, but I don't have time. And typically I don't see spirits in shadows, so that kind of caught me off guard. Well, I'm finishing up and I see the shadow go by again. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Since I don't typically see shadows, I just kind of did a gut check to make sure that this was a good energy. And I felt like it was very good energy. So I just said, I don't know who you are, but I'm busy. You need to come back later. And so I finished what I was doing. I went to bed and something made me look at my phone, and I looked at my phone and I had a text message, several text messages from my friend and his loved ones letting me know that his father had passed. And as soon as I read that, I saw his father come right up to me because I knew him fairly well. And he said, Melissa, the door opened and I knew everybody was going to be okay here, so I went. And what he showed me was kind of like this darkness with this door of white light. And he said, there's paradise waiting on the other side and everybody's going to be okay. What would you do? And he went through the door and he passed. Well, it was very interesting. The next day I was trying to find something inspirational to send to my friend, just to help comfort him during this time. And I came across that picture where it's just black with this door of white light. And there was a message on the side, but I didn't really like the message, so I just cropped it. And I sent it to him and I said, this is what your dad showed me last night. He said he knew you all would be okay. And there was paradise waiting. And he showed me this door of white light and him going through it. And so my friend texted me back and he said, I can't wait to talk to you, but this is amazing validation for me. So when I saw my friend the next day, he said that he was finally, his dad passed around 11 o'clock at night. And so by 4 o'clock in the morning, he was finally going to bed and going to sleep. And he said just as he was starting to doze off, he saw a shadow go by his bed. And he doesn't usually see spirits in shadow either. He said, and I knew it was Dad. And he said, all of a sudden I had this vision of exactly what you showed me, of this dark wall with this white light, this beautiful energy coming through this white light and a shadow of a man going through it. So he saw exactly the same thing. The hardest thing for a soul to experience in the transition process is knowing the sorrow and the mourning that he or she is going to be creating when they cross to the other side. Melissa has more stories, and I'm going to ask her to share one more, although she's not aware of what that is right now. During your time of transition, the angelic energy is at full force around you. You have heard stories of people in transitioning states seeing angels or seeing their loved ones. We assist with that. It is a wonderful experience for us as an angelic being to watch the human transition. Some of you are very hesitant or very frightened, but ready to go when you see us. And then as you leave your physical plane and come into the energetic plane, there's this wonderful remembrance and understanding that happens. And you're very happy to be where you are. Those who are still in the earth plane are not lost to you. You still see them. You still witness them. You are still close to them anytime you choose to be. Sometimes it is best for you to just carry on in your carry on with the angelic presence for a while after your transition if you've had a particularly difficult experience in your human form. But most of you pop in and pop out. As you spiritualists know, when you call upon an energy, it's usually right there, hence the popping. Moving with the speed of thought is how you connect with those still here in the earth plane. You will know when they're thinking of you. You will know when they're sending you love or healing. You will feel it. Melissa's friend describes it as a warm hug when she sends her healing energy from a church service. I'm going to ask that she share one more story. I can feel her emotions welling, so just bear with her. When my friend Jamie was passing, there was one very difficult day where she was in the hospital and she had bone cancer and chose not to do chemo. So we knew the end was coming, and she and I had many talks about transitioning, and I was very blessed to have visions of what it's like when she crosses over. She was a beautiful woman, and what I saw was her coming into this white light, and I could see people coming towards her, and this realization that dawned once she realized where she was and what was happening. So I was able to describe that to her and hopefully ease her way into the spirit side. But this particular day, her husband wanted her to sign the advance directive, and she wasn't ready. She couldn't speak. She was very overwhelmed, and one tear rolled down her cheek as she just shook her head. This is the hard part. And I knew after all these months, she was not ready to pass. So I said, that's okay, honey. We could take our time with this. And I held her hand and did some Reiki with her. Later, she fell asleep. And as soon as she was asleep, she went into rapid eye movement. I saw her eyes just going back and forth really quickly. And I felt presence. And I heard, we are working with her. We are helping to remind her not to worry, not to be frightened. And so I left that day, and I was devastated, thinking, oh my goodness, after all this time, I really thought she was very accepting of what was happening. The next day I went in, it was a totally different Jamie. She was smiling, she was laughing, she was making fun of her. Her dad had called while I was there, and this is conversation. Dad, I know. Dad, it's going to be fine. Dad, don't worry. Dad, it's fine. Stop crying. And she was totally, there was this level of acceptance that was the most beautiful thing. So I have no doubt that when our loved ones or when we are ready to pass, the angels are working with us, helping us to remember who we are as soul beings to help make that transition easy. I would like to leave you with one more thought. Think of love and how that expression makes you feel. When someone tells you, I love you, or when you say it to someone else, that warmth, that gentleness, that is what you experience during your transition. A welcoming home, if you will. And until next time, I'll leave you with the love and the blessings of the angelic realm.
Thank you, Melissa.